What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Comic Book Flashback. I'm Marvel Across 316, and today we are looking at Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 40. Today's title is Average Bear, and so today, folks, we're starting a new storyline today. We're going to be leaving the Venom storyline for now, and we'll hopefully see Venom in the future. But for now, Spider-Man will be dealing with some new dilemmas in his life. And the first biggest dilemma that we're going to be wondering about is basically how is Peter Parker going to get his Spider-Man outfit? Like, basically, he's lost his costume in a horrific accident, and now he's searching for a new costume. So, is he going to be able to find one? Well, first off, he's going to go by this shop here, and basically, as we see here, he's asking this guy, "Hey, I know you sell wrestling costumes. Is there a possibility that you might sell like onesies? You know, kind of like, I don't know, head from head to toe, and maybe in red and blue, or maybe both colors combined." And he's just trying not to let himself or give himself away, basically, because Peter Parker is Spider-Man and he doesn't want this guy Biff to find this out. So he's like, well, this is a wrestling thong. And he said, from head to toe, you say? That's not a wrestling thing. That's, I don't know, like a dancing thing, like tights, dancing tights. And Peter's like, wrestlers don't wear them? He said, no. Peter says, do you have anything like that here? He says, no. Peter says, do you know where I could get something like that? No. So now Peter struck out once here. He has nowhere to turn. He's broken up with Mary Jane Watson, and Mary Jane Watson was the one that helped him create that costume after he had gotten in that big battle with Dr. Octopus. But also, he got the first costume from the wrestling company that he wrestled for when he first gained his powers, if you want to go back and look at those early issues that I covered. But now we find out here that Peter Parker has no skills at all in sewing. He doesn't know how to make a costume. He's really good at what he does. He's a scientific genius, but when it comes to making a costume for himself, he's not going to be able to do that. And so we see that in class, he has a lot on his mind, and Mary Jane Watson is going to be wondering exactly what he's up to. Why is he so down? The teacher's talking about this film that's going to be broadcast at the school. The students have been involved in this for quite some time, and they're going to start filming at the school here shortly, and people can go ahead and start signing up. We see that Mary Jane looks at Peter Parker. She writes something in her journal, shows it to Peter, and she's like, ahem. Finally, Peter looks, and it says, what's the matter? Peter's like looking at her weird, writes down, what do you care? Then Mary Jane writes down, I do care. And he's like, huh? He said, well, which is it? You can't have it both ways. Then she writes down, I can't care? If you care, then why are we not together? MJ's starting to write down. All of a sudden, the teacher picks up both of their notes, and this is the most embarrassing thing here. She is going to read it. This is embarrassing, y'all. This is not what a teacher's supposed to do. I know you're supposed to call out the students when they're not paying attention, but reading their own notes, that's pretty cold. And so we see here that the teacher says, Mary asks Peter, what's the matter? Peter says, what do you care? But according to this, Mary does care. So Peter wisely asks her why they are not together. How are you going to answer, Mary? And she's like, putting her hands on her face. And she's like, so embarrassed. I mean, right in front of the class. And Gwen is laughing at this as well. And so we see that Peter now is going to use a payphone to call that wrestling company he used to work for, the Wrestling Corporation. And he's like, yeah, hi. I'm from Hasbro, the toy company, and we are strongly considering making a toy line based on your colorful wrestling characters. The guy says, "We already got a merchandising deal with Toy Biz." Peter says, "Oh, even that Spider-Man character? Spider-Man, what was that, 40 years ago? Nah, that was a one-time deal. We don't represent that guy." Peter says, "That was an interesting outfit he wore." Okay. Where did you get it? Did you have it custom made or?" And then the guy hangs up. And what we're going to find here is Flash Thompson is going to approach Peter, and he's like, "Hey, Peter, you got a minute? I really need to talk with you." Peter, for the past, I don't know how many years, has been bullied by Flash Thompson so many times. He cannot trust Flash Thompson. He said, "Yeah, can we go outside for a sec? I gotta talk to you." Peter's like, "Yeah, sure, Flash. Let's go outside so you can pants me in front of the cheerleading squad." "Oh, I know. How about we go outside and a bucket of Coca-Cola dumps on my head? Or better yet, why don't you crawl up your own nose and look for what's left of your retarded self-worth?" He said, "You jackass." And so, wow, Peter's not having any of it. So all of a sudden, this woman is being chased by a bunch of muggers here, and she has her groceries in her hand, and these guys are trying to rob her, when all of a sudden we're going to see this guy, his knife is then webbed up, and we're going to see none other than the Ultimate Spider-Man appear here, but he looks a lot different. We see that Spider-Man is in his street clothes here. He's actually wearing a custom-made outfit that he had created here, and he's going to stop these guys, even though they're like, "Dude, where did your costume go?" And he said, "Your mom is washing it for me." And so we see here a lot of great stuff going on, and Spider-Man is able to stop these muggers. All of a sudden, one of his eyepieces falls out, and he's like, "Oh crap, where did it go?" And so he's looking for it, and he finally gets back to his basement, and he's like, "Look at this, look at it. I am like the smartest person in Queens. Why can't I figure out how to get the lens to stay in my mask? Why can't I do this? You know what? I'm going to have a big baby tantrum, and then I'm going to," and then all of a sudden he hears a knock at the door. He says, "Oh crap." So he shoves all his Spider-Man equipment into this chest here, and it just so happens to be Gwen Stacy. She walks down stairs, and they basically have a discussion about why everybody gets to have fun and they don't, and she basically tells them, "Hey, we need to go to this party that's at this guy's house. We need to go and just have some fun." So finally, Peter and Gwen, they go to this party, and they're just sitting there. Everybody's having a good time, and he's like, "You know what? I'm about to go. Like, this is enough." And he said, "You can't leave me here." And then all of a sudden, while they're in discussion, Peter sees in the corner of his eye not only Liz Allen, but this is actually Mary Jane. She looks like she's gotten a new haircut, and she's dyed her hair black. And so, wow, a new change in dress here for Mary Jane. And she sees Peter and then walks away here. And she's like, "Oh, come on, MJ." That's what Liz Allen says. And so Gwen says, "Well, that worked." Peter says, "What worked?" "She got your attention. Can we please go home now?" And she's like, "Yeah, absolutely." All of a sudden, they hear a big boom. People are shouting Geldoff. And who is this Geldoff character? Well, we're going to soon figure this out here. He has the ability to basically blow up cars with this magnetic power or some kind of electric power of some sort. And so all this is taking place right in front of Peter here. And so who is Geldoff? We're going to have to figure all this out. He's probably a mutant of some kind. We're going to figure all this out as we look at issue number 41 coming up next. So go ahead now and give this video a like. Comment down below what you liked about this issue. Subscribe if you have not. And keep reading comics.